Hi, welcome to the channel. No, you're not in the wrong place. I'm Mrs. Spitfire Kev. Today's video is an extremely sad story that Kev wanted to cover as the event happened 2 weeks before his first birthday, and he remembers the disaster's 10th anniversary from when he was at school and has always been touched by the loss and devastation, as at that time he would have been the same age as the poor souls mostly affected. So we visited Aberfan whilst in Wales doing some family tree research. Kev filmed and we were both saddened by the town. Although extremely beautiful with its mountain surroundings, there seemed to be a heavy feeling hanging over us constantly, which seemed to lift when we left. I think maybe the gravity of seeing the area with our own eyes and the weather. When returning home, Kev wanted to take his time and make sure he told the story with the greatest of love and respect to both those that lost their lives and those who survived. However, after all his research and editing, he just could not bring himself to talk, getting very emotional every time he tried. So here I am, to try and give you the story of the UK's worst man-made disaster in recent history. The story of Aberfan. In this video, there is sadly the topic of child mortality, so please take care if this is a subject you may find triggering. On the morning of the 21st of October 1966, what is known as the UK's worst disaster in recent history devastated a nation and changed the UK forever, and none were affected more than the survivors in the town of Aberfan in Wales. Imagine waking up as usual as a parent on a miserable October morning, the usual hustle and bustle of breakfast and getting the children dressed and ready, packing lunches, etc. Just a normal day, walking the kids to school, who are undoubtedly excited as today is the last day of term. As a parent, we're probably not sharing the excitement of the prospect of no school for a week. But then shortly after, kissing and hugging your beautiful children goodbye, a devastating event happens at the very place that your children should be safest at, second only to their own home. An event so unimaginable it stopped a nation in its tracks, and the Queen of that nation would consider it the biggest regret of her whole reign. And you'd give anything to go back to the hustle and bustle of that morning. Aberfan was a small mining community. It's just outside Merthyr Tydfil, surrounded by mountains. In 1966, the area was also surrounded by 7 tips from the local colliery, or coal mines. One of these tips was overlaying a natural spring. The local people had been expressing concern about the tips, and this one in particular, for a long while before the 21st of October 1966, to the National Coal Board, or the NCB, who were responsible for them. This one in particular, as its placement on the mountainside was above Pantglas Junior School. On that fateful day, after days of heavy rain had caused build-up in the natural spring beneath the tip, the locals' worst fears were suddenly and devastatingly realised when the 111-foot or 34 metres high tip collapsed and suddenly slid downhill, engulfing the Pantglas Junior School below and other nearby buildings. Local residents immediately rushed to the school to begin rescue efforts, and a call to the police was placed. A call was received at around the same time by the fire brigade, based at Merthyr Tydfil. Locals were digging by hand or with garden tools to frantically rescue the teachers and children inside. 20 minutes after, a team of coal miners arrived and joined the effort and led the rescue, knowing that the digging could cause further collapse. By 11 a.m, 22 children, one of whom had sadly passed by arrival, and 5 adults had reached Merthyr Tydfil Hospital. A further 9 were sent to East Glamorgan General Hospital. Tragically, after 11 a.m, none of the people recovered were alive. 144 people lost their lives tragically that morning. 116 of those people were children, mostly between the ages of 7 and 10. 109 of those children were inside the school. 5 of the adults that sadly passed were teachers, one of whom was devastatingly found holding 5 of the children. An additional 6 adults and 29 children were injured in the devastation. A makeshift mortuary was set up in the village's Bethania Chapel on the 21st of October and continued until the 4th of November, just some 250 yards or 229 metres away from the disaster site. The 2 doctors issuing death certificates noted causes of death to be asphyxia, fractured skull or multiple crush injuries. Due to the amount of bodies, space in the chapel was very limited and meant that parents could only enter one at a time to identify the children. The chapel also acted as the Missing Persons Bureau, with Red Cross and St John's Ambulance volunteers using the vestry. 400 embalmers volunteered to assist with cleaning, dressing and preparing the bodies of the dead for burial. Seats were removed from a plane flying in from Northern Ireland to transport child-sized coffins. The smaller Aberfan Calvinistic chapel nearby was set up as a secondary mortuary. The 22nd of October, Lord Snowdon visited and spoke with workers and parents. At 11 a.m. the same day, Prince Philip also visited and spoke with rescue workers. That afternoon the rain started again, causing more worry of further slides and possible need to evacuate the town. On October the 23rd, the Territorial Army provided assistance, followed by the arrival of naval staff from HMS Tiger and members of the King's Own Royal Border Regiment. The same day, Harold Wilson announced the appointment of Lord Justice Edmund Davis as the chairman of the inquiry into the disaster. He had been born and raised in the nearby village of Mountain Ash. 24th of October, the first coroner's inquest was opened to give the causes of death for 30 of the children located so far. One man had lost his wife and 2 sons. When their names were mentioned, he called out, "No, sir, buried alive by the National Coal Board." On the 25th of October, the first funerals for 5 of the children took place. On the 27th, a mass funeral for 81 children and 1 woman took place at Bruntaff Cemetery, buried in a pair of 80-foot-long trenches. 10,000 people attended. Due to the sheer vastness of destruction and quantity of slurry, the last victim was found a week after the disaster on the 28th of October. On the 29th of October, Queen Elizabeth II arrived with Prince Philip to pay respects to the dead. The inquiry lasted 76 days, which at the time was a huge amount. The tribunal stated, much of the time of the tribunal could have been saved if the National Coal Board had not stubbornly resisted every attempt to lay blame where it so clearly must rest at their door. 3rd of August 1967, the tribunal found that the blame for the disaster rests upon the NCB, although blame with varying degrees can be apportioned to the South Western Divisional Board and certain individuals, and added that legal liability to pay compensation was on the NCB. In the aftermath of the disaster, the community suffered greatly, not only by the inconceivable loss of so many loved ones, a whole generation, but also of PTSD and survivor's guilt. During Queen Elizabeth's visit to the town, a young girl handed her a posy of flowers, and the card attached read, "From the remaining children of Aberfan," a phrase, she said, that stayed with her when the now King Charles had read out a letter to the people when he visited in her place due to illness on the 50th anniversary of the disaster. What made the Aberfan disaster so unimaginably horrific and so inconceivably devastating was not only that the most of the victims were just young children starting out on their last day of term, but that the whole disaster, the devastating loss, was all entirely preventable. 7 tips were placed around the area, but the one that took so many lives and forever changed and shaped so many more had been a huge bone of contention for a very long time. The day of the disaster had not even been the first or second slide. It was in fact its third slide, and the day before the disaster there had even been a meeting over its safety between the NCB and Merthyr Tydfil County Council. The depth of the slide was approximately 40 foot or 12 metres when it hit the school. Lord Robbins, the NCB chairman, suggested that it couldn't have been predicted. However, the fact so many concerns had been raised previously, added to the previous slides, would no doubt prove this wrong. The Coal Board even controversially appropriated money from the disaster fund, money that the public had raised for the families to help pay for the clearance of the remaining dips. The colliery closed in 1989. Since then, there is now a beautiful garden of remembrance at the site of Pantglas Junior School for visitors to pay respect and reflect. The cemetery's memorials to the children are beautiful and peaceful, with mostly white decorative stonework. The graves were made so that surviving family members could one day reunite with their loved ones on their passing, and Aberfan remembers and keeps the memory of those lost. As parents and grandparents ourselves, this tragedy stirs our deepest fears. I can't help but be in awe of the strength of the survivors to carry on. People lost children, friends, wives, husbands, homes. At least one man in particular lost his wife and 2 children, as well as his home that day. My heart breaks for him and all the community that had to rebuild their whole lives due to greed and laziness from a corporation. I wish I could say the world learnt from the horror of that day, but sadly we hear of corporate greed destroying lives too often, but thankfully not many that are as truly overwhelmingly disastrous as the 21st of October 1966. Our love and thoughts are always with the 144 souls taken too soon that day, and also the community of Aberfan and its survivors. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you will not be too affected by it. Also, thank you for listening to me instead of Kev. No doubt he'll be with you in the comments. Please like, share, comment and subscribe if you would like to. Take care, stay safe, and from Kev, thank you muchly.